as we take a look and see what she has to speak about today.
What I have to speak about today, and good morning, is Asian Americans. So by the year 2050, Asian Americans are going to be 1 in every 10 people that you meet nationally, right? Yeah. So you should be nice to me because there are going to be many more. I'm going to be multiplying all over.
I knew there was a reason we had to be nice to you.
Exactly, and that's why. Okay. But in Iowa, they're only 2% of the population right now, 2.2%. But they are multiplying like you wouldn't believe. So between the years 2000 and 2010, they grew by 50%, and then another, 3% in the between 2010 and 2013.
Now, I want you to help clarify for some folks. Asian. What's your definition of Asian? Because some people are confused on this.
Right, exactly. So Asian is anyone that comes from the continent of Asia, basically.
Which
would be India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and then all of the Southeast Asian countries, China, Japan.
See, a lot of people just think it's Chinese or
right.
Japanese.
People think of East Asians as just being the only Asians, but no, we are all Asians. Everyone that comes from the continent.
We had a lot of them come in the 70s, right, under Governor Ray.
Yes. So
I was younger, so
that's and that's Iowa's primary and biggest experience, I think, with a large Asian population during the 1970s. At the sort of close of the Vietnam War, there were these communities, especially the Thai Dam and the Lao, who had been displaced by fighting. And Governor Ray, much to his credit, had an amazingly big heart and saw their plight on national television and just opened up the entire state of Iowa as a sanctuary. You know, got permission from the federal government to bring large communities of Thai Dam and Lao people in here, and they have settled and they've been here since then. But you know, there were, and this is a program that was totally based on volunteers opening up their homes and donating and helping, you know, make apartments accessible. But there were huge cultural differences, economic differences. So it's only now with the next generation that they're starting to see economic prosperity and acculturation in the ways that, you know, make them sort of full-fledged citizens of the community. But so that's one group we know. Now the other groups, the more recent groups that have been brought in, have been refugees from the former Burma, Myanmar, who've been fleeing. And a lot of them have lived in refugee camps for a very long time outside of their country. And there's such a huge culture clash that you have to really begin from scratch with this population. Many of them have never sat in an automobile, have never used indoor plumbing or a toilet, you know, have gone out in the woods because they're very rural people, and have had no contact with school systems, especially not American school systems. And so some of them are actually illiterate in their own native languages. They can't read or write or speak.
Wow.
So, speak, of course, they can speak, but they can't speak other languages.
Sure.
So this has produced a huge challenge for the state, and also for school systems and so on, and also big culture clashes with like the Department of Human Services because there are not enough interpreters who speak their languages. And because of that, a lot of cultural and linguistic misunderstandings have come up. And my colleague, columnist Lee Rood at the paper, has been writing a series, the last few days, she had a 3-part series about some of the tragedies that have happened to this community. One was a young father who committed suicide because he had been beating his children in the way that they culturally learned how, I think he was using a coat hanger or something. And so DHS took his kids away, and he ended up committing suicide because he was so distraught over that. And in another case, this is even more outrageous, a mother lost custody or was about to lose parental rights completely to her children because she was in a relationship in which she was being abused, and so the authorities felt that the children were being, you know, exposed to abuse, and she had done nothing wrong, but they had an interpreter for her who didn't even speak the right language. Oh my goodness. So back up a little bit. The reason I'm writing about this today is there's a woman here by the name of Sanjita Pradhan, who's an executive officer at the Iowa Division of Asian American Affairs, which is part of the state Human Rights Division. And she recently was named to the President's Advisory Commission in Washington on Asian Americans. So that is really good for Iowa because it's going to give visibility to some of the issues that the Asian communities here face. And there is nobody currently on that commission. It's only a 19 19-member commission, but they have no one from the Midwest, no one from Kansas,
Really?
Missouri. Yeah. So that's important. And, you know, part of the message, she says she will hope to be a voice for this community with the federal government. And I think part of the problem is that our communities are often overlooked when they're either doling out federal funds or considering the problems and what needs to be done because it is so small. But because it is so small, they also have the biggest challenges. They don't have enough interpreters. And federal civil law requires that any institution like a hospital, for example, that gets federal funding has to have interpreters. But because it's very hard to find.
Right?
Exactly. So then, you know, think about the kinds of situations that can arise. I got a call. I interviewed Sangeeta, and she got a call from a DART bus driver who called her up and said, you know, I've had this woman riding around in my bus all day. It's now 4 o'clock. She's been on the bus since 10 a.m. She doesn't know where to get off.
No.
She can't speak English. So, you know, Sangeeta got on the phone and spoke to this woman, and it was pretty simply resolved. The woman said, I live near Hy-Vee, but she didn't know her address. But Sangeeta had helped to relocate the Nepali community into this building near a Hy-Vee. So she knew where she should go. But imagine and as I wrote, you know, in a larger city like New York or Los Angeles, there would probably eventually be someone who would get on the bus who spoke her native language, Nepali. But here, no. So, you know, the group is very isolated. And then you have these huge divisions between communities here. Like Asian Americans in Iowa have the highest household income on average because they're the very rich doctors and professionals, IT professionals. And those IT professionals who come on temporary visas, a lot of them from India, are here, are the second largest growing group of Asians. But the first largest growing group is the Burmese. So look at these huge gaps between income level and also, you know, acculturation process. So really, there are going to be more and more issues and challenges. So it's very important to have a voice with government.
So all the details in today?
All the details in today's paper.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank
It is
you.
$8:52. We'll be right back.